The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everyone, happy to have you all with us today for our webinar Considerations, Challenges and Opportunities with AI Enterprise Platforms. This is brought to you by Informa Tech. Today we are joined by Michael Azoff, one of our key analysts at Ovum, who will be sharing some of his research to provide light on the subject. So just before we start, there will be a Q&A session at the end. So if you have any questions over the duration of the webinar, please type them into the questions panel on the right hand of your screen. Michael, if you're ready to go, it would be great to hear your insight on this subject.
Well, thanks very much, Nicole, and hello everyone. Welcome to this webinar. So I'm going to talk about AI enterprise platforms, and this is the agenda. So I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are, because we're also going through some changes. So if you're familiar with Ovum and Innovation Academy and Tractica, then there's some interesting news. And then I'll talk about AI. I'm going to level set so that we all understand when I'm referring to AI machine learning what I mean. And then we'll dive into the main topic. And then we're going to finish with some Q&A. So let's start with who's Informa Tech. So we're all part of the bigger parent company called Informa, and they have created Informa Tech, which comprises Tractica, a specialist in AI, Heavy Reading, which is pretty much dedicated to the telco market, and then Ovum, which is IT industry analyst with a broad spectrum of coverage. And of course there are other businesses that are part of that, including Innovation Academy. We went live with our new Informa Tech name in May this year, and you'll be hearing more about our plans for going forward. So some of the slides I'm going to show now are a little bit backwards looking because they're from the individual units within Informa Tech, but just to give you an idea, the Tractica provides market intelligence, forecasting, market sizing in a whole host of areas, including AI in the top left there. They've got a wide coverage, and if you're interested, come back to us. We'll be happy to tell you more. Ovum, as I said, we're broad industry analysts, with a very big presence in the telco market, but other verticals as well, and across horizontal technologies. And I'm myself from the Ovum group. I work closely now with my new colleagues, and a little bit more about our research services. So, and then of course our host, Innovation Academy, who provide courses on AI for the technologies for the enterprise. So that's who we are. Let me level set, as I said, what I mean by AI. I think a lot of people will have their own take. So broadly speaking, you can say that the ultimate goal is to create something that matches the human intelligence. But in terms of what is out there in actual research, there are those who are actually working on that long-term ambition. And then there are those who are looking for practical applications of AI today. And it's that second category of research and its application that I'm really going to focus on. So AI as a whole covers a lot of different activities. Machine learning is a well-tried part of that. I used to work with neural nets before being an analyst back in the 1990s. And backpropagation, which was invented in 1986, had a big effect on the AI community. And then you may have heard of the AI winter. And then back in 2010, the small group of researchers still working with neural nets, they weren't very popular, I have to say, but what they were doing caught up with technology, especially GPUs. And when they ported their algorithms onto GPUs, that really launched deep learning, and then that has completely transformed this whole area of research and application. And there's a huge amount of interest, huge amount of venture capital money going into startups and all the big players. So that's basically what I mean by AI. And deep learning is a branch of machine learning, and it's part of neural networks. Okay, so where are we today in our evolution? So I would categorize where we are right now as machine intelligence, and you could also talk about augmented or assisted intelligence. The next major milestone will be what people refer to as narrow AI. And some of those characteristics would be, for example, very fast learning. So with AI today, with machine learning today, you need thousands, hundreds of thousands. In a case of DeepMind with their AlphaGo technology, millions of examples. And you need that amount of data to train your models. With artificial narrow AI, you would be able to train a model, neural network or a deep learning network with a small set of examples. So those are the sort of things we're looking for in the next phase, the next major milestone. And then ultimately we want to reach general AI, which matches the human brain, and things get rather serious at that point onwards. People talk about transcendence and machines taking over, but that's another subject. So we're not going into that. We are now machine intelligence people, and lots of possibilities and non-threatening possibilities, I believe, for our society today. So I'm also going to just mention one of the things we do at Ovum is the AI reality chart. So basically, the idea is to, there's clearly a lot of hype in the market. There's a lot of VC funding, a lot of money, a lot of startups making claims. So there's a lot of hype. And the idea of the AI reality chart is just to examine what's interesting, what's genuine, what's achievable from what is just talk. So here is an example. It's the chips for accelerating AI. As I mentioned, the GPUs, you'll see in the top right, NVIDIA primarily, but there's other GPU makers like AMD, and not to forget the CPU is still very important part of the whole system. So these are categorizing the different types of chips that are out there to enhance and accelerate AI. Lots of different ideas out there. There's still a lot of work being done in stealth, so there's a big question mark. We don't know how good, what will come out of those that work. But this is designed to help you just sort of gauge where we are with things. And there's different aspects of the chart that I'm covering for AI, as other aspects of AI. Okay, so let's talk about the main topic, enterprise AI platform. So there are a number of factors that are absolutely critical to how you take to this market. First is, who are your people that are going to work with these solutions? What is their background? What's their skill set? But depending on what's available to you or what you want to hire, what you want to partner or bring in, that would dictate what kind of solution you want to work with. So at the bottom of the stack there is all the code that's coming out of academia. This is one of the notable things that AI research in academia, they share their code, and that is really helping to accelerate the pace of research. You can pick up that code, and in addition, one level above that, you've got the frameworks and libraries, so a little bit more user-friendly, like TensorFlow is a prime example of that. But you really need to have had a solid research background in neural networks and other AI techniques in order to use tools and code from that level of the stack. And then once you go above that, there are consideration of building blocks that you can add in to your code, questions about the specifically for use cases such as language translation, vision imaging. So a whole set of very targeted applications that you could add if you're working with CCTV. You can add an AI building block to that. So, and then above that, we've got the more broad platforms, and these also bring in the data science aspect of it. And I'll talk more about that in a minute, but they are primarily, now this is beginning to be targeted at domain experts rather than someone with a PhD in neural nets. And as you go higher up the stack, you'll find solutions that are easier and easier to use. Some of them don't require any coding, they just drag and drop. You know, you may be in marketing and you have a pile of data in a spreadsheet, and you press a button and these solutions will pick that data up and provide you with some interesting analysis of that data, such as forecasts. And then ultimately at the top, again, looking at very specific narrow areas, and there's a lot of startup VC activity around that, where they're solving particular problems, and whether it's security, cybersecurity, whether it's health apps to assist doctors, whether internally within the medical research community, or whether it's with patients helping to relieve pressure on GPs and so on. So lots of different apps out there. It's a huge market. I think I've got a slide to illustrate the extent of that market in a minute. Basically, as I mentioned, there's a lot of open source software out there. And this table will it helps to list some of the more popular ones. And the research paper that's referenced on that slide shows the GitHub rating in terms of downloads, so you can see which ones are the more popular ones. And as I mentioned, TensorFlow, which came out of Google, is hugely popular, and is now the Linux Foundation nonprofit foundation has launched a deep learning foundation for, so that's something to look out for, and some I expect interesting things to come out of that. So if you have the skills within your organization, then you'll be wanting to look at these. For example, Java, so deep learning 4J, which you can see about the middle of that slide, is they're now part of Eclipse. And so if you're working with Java, then that may be of interest to you. But a lot of these are using Python is very popular as a language. R is clearly hugely popular with statisticians. And I think also noteworthy is Julia, which is a very high performance language, and I think will grow in usage. So as I mentioned, the sheer number of players in this market is just absolutely enormous. One of our roles is to help you navigate this territory. One of the ways we do that is we create comparative reports. So we compare, we have the Ovum decision matrix to take market leaders in particular categories. There'll be one coming up in machine learning application development platform. So very much for the enterprise, very much of this topic of this webinar. And towards the end of this year, we'll be publishing ranking solutions from a whole range of different players. So hopefully Ovum can help you navigate that market. Now, I mentioned the role of data science. it is intimately tied into AI, because where we are today, as I mentioned, machine intelligence requires thousands, hundreds of thousands of learning examples. And this is where data science comes in to help us design, collect, and analyze data and link it to our AI models and train them. So, and in that slide, just in the middle, you see data ops. So we're seeing ETL has been around since BI, business intelligence, extracts, transform, load data. A lot of tools, very mature market. But data ops has come in with using ideas from DevOps to help accelerate that activity. I think it's worth just saying a little bit about the roles of people who are going to work with these platforms and tools. So data science, as I mentioned, all about designing, collecting, and doing the analysis. And really, the data scientists have that statistics and mathematics background, and the analysis is very much their forte. The data engineers are software engineers with an interest in this field, who can then professionally produce software to support this activity, create the pipelines, create the data flows, and also create the support for managing the life cycle. So we're going to hear a lot about the machine learning life cycle ahead, and we're also doing a decision matrix on tools to support the machine learning life cycle. Because once you, as an enterprise, once you put out hundreds of AI-based tools out into the field, you will need to manage all kinds of aspects, making sure the models are up to date, tracking drift, tracking performance, all of these aspects, the code that's coming through, version control, all of these are absolutely vital. And then the final role I have listed there, last but not least, is your machine learning expert. Depending on where in the stack you're picking up tools, whether you need someone with that expertise. If you're lower down that stack, you want someone with a deep knowledge, and they will build models and algorithms, and you need someone with that expertise. So it depends how you want to recruit and how you want to build internally. This is another view of the stack, and just to say that the hardware, as I mentioned, the GPUs were transformative to deep learning, and whatever type of AI you're using, you need to think about the hardware and how you scale it as well, and how you build out the distributed support, hardware support for your algorithms. So all of that needs to be thought about, and this is a moving area. There's a lot of research gone into novel chips, and it's a very exciting area of innovation. I've already talked a little bit about the stack in the middle, and then the bit at the top is all about the people. It's definitely a key thing, is how you manage, who you recruit, and the kind of processes. Agile and DevOps very much plays into that. So consideration. So I mentioned the machine learning life cycle, and it is absolutely essential if you're taking your models into production. You need people who have a responsibility for managing that life cycle, and it's not the data scientists, because they're much more concerned with building the models. You need people who are focused on the production, performance, and monitoring of the applications in production. And you'll want to not just have the tools, but have the people and processes to manage that. So the other points to make out is the 3 V's are made very well known in the big data community: managing the volume, thinking about the velocity and how you manage that, and the variety of data sources that you have, and how you build your pipelines to feed your models. So these are all absolutely essentials. The challenges, well, there's many. I've listed some key ones here. Culture and resistance, probably number 1, winning people over the fear of job threats. the fact that AI is very logical and we want it to work with people, but AI today lacks empathy. There's challenges from your competitors who may be moving faster than you, so there's a kind of an anxiety crisis there for what to do next. And again, people like us from Informatech can help you provide you with a strategy and how to make you succeed in this market. Also, globally, we're seeing leapfrogging technology in emerging nations, and that's an interesting area as well. Safety critical environments, the need for ethics and a moral compass. These are all key challenges for how you move forward. The opportunities are many. Greater automation, ultimately, this is what we're looking for, to assist humans do better. We're not looking to eliminate humans, but in some manual heavy chore type activity, then there's nothing wrong with replacing humans. It's just we don't want to eliminate the humans from the higher value decision making, and where AI is today, it is assisting people in that sort of category. So opportunities, AI, machines, and automation scale very easily. And there's a whole host of new opportunities and jobs opening up with the introduction of AI. So one of the things Informatech can help you is, as I said, help you formulate your strategy, decide on how visionary you want to be, how laid back, how you want to wait and let others make the mistakes and then learn from them. But if you wait too long, you'll be late. Your competitors will be ahead of you. So just devising the right strategy, deciding on which technologies to adopt in our decision matrices will help you with that, with those choices. So please do come back to us on that. And thank you very much. And I'll open it up to questions now. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much, Michael, for your presentation there. And yeah, now we have time for our Q&A session. So if any of you guys have any questions that you want to ask Michael, again, please type them into the column on the right-hand side. We do have some questions already to start off with, though. So one question being asked is, I hear some people are already talking about narrow AI available today. So what's your view?
Yeah, so as I said, my definitions are very much mine. Other people tend to use the terminology slightly differently, and you need to be aware of that because there isn't an agreed acceptance of the terms. So I would say to you, when you hear others talk about narrow AI, ask them to define exactly how they characterize their narrow AI and how is it different from what has gone before. So that will give you an idea of why they're using that terminology. I just think that there are certain key milestones to achieve before we reach what I call narrow AI, and I haven't really gone explicitly into that in this very short webinar. But again, come back to me, and I'll be happy to discuss in deeper detail exactly what I consider all the characteristics that go into that definition of narrow AI.
Okay, great. And then another question we've got is, so where do you start with an AI program for a business?
Yeah, well, I think the key question is, what problem do you want to solve? Because what AI is going to do is bring you automation, and hopefully better automation that involves some degree of autonomy. So the question is, how is that going to help your business? That's the first, and I think, primary question to ask. And once you have targeted the application area, then you can start thinking about, well, who are the domain experts and what is the skills availability within the organization to support a program for AI to help that domain expert solve that application problem that we've identified we want to solve. So I think that's the sequence of questioning you want to do. and then that leads you the right way to tackle this this activity, rather than thinking, oh, AI, that's a very hot topic, let's get some TensorFlow downloads and play with it. And I think you need to know what problem you want to solve before you do anything. You may find that TensorFlow is not the right machine learning tool for you. There might be something that isn't, might be probabilistic programming models rather than neural nets. So depends what your problem is. And again, come back to Informatech to help guide you through that.
Okay, great. And I think we have time for maybe 2 more questions. So one other question being asked is, how do you future-proof an investment in AI?
So yeah, well, that's a tricky one, clearly. So there are certain things you need to do, and that is monitor when your projects start, what investments you're making, so that you can actually measure. And that this applies to any kind of activity. But basically, you want to have very clear ideas, as I said at the beginning, for your reasons for moving into AI. Is you want to have very specific problems you want to solve. One of the things that, if you recall the days of data warehousing, there was this message going out from some nameless, some vendors who will remain nameless, that all you needed to do was create this big data warehouse, put lots of data in it, and you'll find some nuggets of fantastic utility in there, this needle in the haystack. Unfortunately, this sort of message is part of the hype, and really, my recommendation is the best way to approach technology is to have a specific problem in mind that you need to solve, one that's causing you pain, and then that way you can measure your effort and see whether you're getting real returns. Start small, grow big as you succeed, take baby steps, rather than going all in, big bang. So agile, small iterations, immediate results, get some feedback, and let that inform the next iteration. So that's my recommendations for getting the best out of your investment.
Okay, great. And yeah, just to round off the Q&A then, so what do you think is next for AI? Sure.
So I mentioned the huge amount of VC funding going into AI chip accelerators. I think the results of that are going to come through in the next few years, and they'll have an internal symbiotic impact on the development of algorithms. So we're certainly not static in terms of where we've hit, where we are with AI. It's evolving. They'll get better. I believe we will reach narrow AI within a reasonable amount of time. Don't ask me how many years, but I believe that we will get to that narrow AI, and it's not necessarily with deep learning. Deep learning is fantastic and does great things today, but I can see new technologies on the sidelines that I think will grow in importance. So yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting things still to happen.
Okay, brilliant. Well, yeah, thanks again, Michael. I think that's all we've got time for today. And also, thank you all for joining us today. Again, we do have many different events, courses, and webinars. So look forward to seeing you again sometime in the future. Okay, thanks a lot, guys.
Thanks, bye.
Bye.